Hi guys, this is SDJRSNF88 speaking with a video on how to maintain your garden railway. So after long periods of not being used, such as over the winter period, garden railways can often need a bit of maintenance to get them back in operating condition again. So my garden railway hasn't really been used properly for the past 2 years. It has seen 2 winters worth of harsh weather, snow, and of course coming into the nice warm period as well, we get all these weeds and other bits and pieces growing up in between the track. So in this video I'm going to show you how to get the railway all clear and basically back up and running again. So of course to do this we're going to need a couple of tools, and as you can see here we've got a selection of items that we will be using. First of all we've got a pair of garden secateurs. This is of course for cutting back line side foliage. We then have a pair of screwdrivers, and this will basically release the track from the pegs which is basically holding it down at the moment. Of course all the track is going to be lifted in this video, as there's a few little things we need to do to basically maintain the connection, so that will also be done. So we'll lift all the track, we'll be able to get out any sort of weeds or foliage that's trapped underneath the rails as well while we're at it, before basically relaying it. And then that's where the level comes in, which you could also see here. That will also help us get the track back down nice and level. And then to the right there we got a bag of aggregate, and basically this is the similar chippings that I've used, which is basically acting as ballast at the moment. Over time this stuff compacts down and of course it goes missing, so some of the track is sort of left levitating on the pegs, so I thought it would be a good idea to get a couple more bags of this and basically fill in any of the missing gaps. Now these two items I find key to keeping the trains running smoothly, especially the ones working with the track power. So what we have here is some graphite lubricant, and basically this, we'll put a little drop of this in between all the fish plates on the track, and this should help with the electrical connection through the rails. Then of course on the right there we have an LGB track cleaner. Now this is very important. As you can see the rails are really dirty, sort of dark grey at the moment, but hopefully with a quick rub of this along all the rails we should have a nice shiny surface which will be perfect for the electrical connection between the track and the locomotive wheels. So we are now looking at the section of line running up on what was the new extension, and what I'm going to do now is start unscrewing the track from the wooden pegs. Of course the wooden pegs will stay in position, so all we just got to do is just undo these screws and keep them in the sleeper so they don't go missing. And I'm going to do this for this whole straight section, and what I'm going to do is basically lift the whole section of track out. I'm then going to disconnect it all, grease up the fish plates with the graphite lubricant which you've just seen, and then basically put it all back together, remove any of the weeds in the track bed under here, and level out the ballast before reinstating it all, screwing the track back down, and then hopefully refilling it back in with some more of the chip-ins. So while the track has been lifted, we've also decided to paint the decks on the bridges. So the bridges are originally made from scaffold boards, and they do tend to split and peel over time, and the paintwork is sort of bleached on it and also sort of cracked and sort of peeled off in places. So this is the second time we've actually painted them in their lifetime, and it seems to hold up for quite a few years. I think the bridge has been down for nearly 4 years now, so it's only sort of a job we do every sort of 2 years. But while the track's removed, it makes it nice and easy to actually paint the actual decks themselves, i.e. where the sleepers are to, and just make sure that the boards are not rotting out, and just keeping them in good condition for when the trains are running again. So as you saw earlier on in the video, I mentioned this graphite lubricant, which basically improves the electrical connection between the rails on your layout. So what you simply do with this is you just apply a little blob to the end of each fish plate, like so, and then one on this side over here as well. Then, like normal, you just push the rails back together, and what this does is it spreads the paste around inside the join, and hopefully that will then improve the connection between this rail and that rail, so you won't have so much of a dropout of current around the whole of your railway. So now most of the track has been reinstated, we can now concentrate on the ballasting. As you can see, this section of rail here is a good couple of centimetres above the actual track bed. So what I'm going to do now is use my new chippings and basically just gradually rebuild up the track bed to meet with the sleepers and keep it all nice and level. As mentioned, I've done this each year, topped up the ballast each year as the ballast itself becomes more compact into the actual base, and we used quite a few bags of chippings on this section so far. Of course, this was the original section of line, so we didn't use as much hardcore as we did on some of the later sections, which as you can tell, that's why we're sort of losing more chippings here. But eventually this area will build up just enough, and then hopefully we won't have to do this as often as what we do at the moment. So what I'm going to do now is just continue adding these chippings just by the handful, and I just simply brush them in between the rails, and then I'll go over with a sprinkling of water from a watering can just to keep the dust down after it's all been put into place, and hopefully we'll have a nice shiny new track bed. So now that the ballast is down, and I've sprinkled a bit of water on yesterday just to dampen down the dust, and it's had a bit of time to dry, it's now time to clean the rails. So for this we're going to use our trusty LGB track cleaner, which is basically a sort of abrasive pad, and hopefully we'll be able to turn this dull grey, just a bit of elbow grease, back to some nice shiny brass track. So fingers crossed. Look at that. You can see the colour difference between this section here and this section here. It really is amazing the difference what just a little bit of elbow grease can make. So now I've got to do this for the whole layout, and then hopefully we'll be able to run some trains. So there you are, that's my video on how to maintain your garden railway. As always, I hope it's been of interest and have helped you guys, especially those of you with G-scale garden railways like myself. But yeah, it's taken the best part of 2 days to get it all back up and running again, and hopefully now it's been done, we'll be able to enjoy some running sessions and of course, hopefully some videos of the railway in action this year. But anyway, I guess that's all for this video, and this has been SDJR88 speaking, and thanks for watching.